You know, it's always great to be able to get a first victory, especially here at home in the Shell in front of our fans. Pleased with the way we were able to do some things today on offense, defense, special teams. But obviously, with game one, there's a lot of things we still got to get corrected, as I expect us to. I was proud of the way that our defense played. I thought those guys did a pretty good job of keeping them out of the end zone. There was plenty of things that we can still get cleaned up, and like I said, usually you see your biggest jump as a team is from week 1 to week 2. It's kind of been the history, and so I expect us to really kind of get some of the stuff cleaned up. It's always better to be able to do it after a victory, which we're really fortunate to have gotten it done here in the Shell today. You saw some explosive plays out of the running back room. Roman Hemby had a big game for us. Would have loved to see a few more opportunities. You know, when you look at us on offense, our goal is to try to get 80 plays, and I think we had 59 opportunities today. And the only way you get to that 80 is to be good on third down, and I think we were 4 of 13 today on third down. And that's what allows you to be able to sustain drives, allows you to get more opportunities, especially with the type of playmakers we have on the offensive side of the ball. So again, proud of the way the guys fought through today. You know, I thought our conditioning level showed up really well today. We didn't have a lot of guys out with cramps, so themselves in position to play 4 quarters. But we'll get in here tomorrow as a staff to, you know, get this game behind us, start preparing for Charlotte, and start work on Monday. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Start you right. Okay.
Mike, running games like a cake. What ingredients do you feel really cooking this afternoon?
Again, I thought, you know, we showed good depth there, you know, with Kobe coming in. Antoine had some big runs there and showed his power and showed the kind of changeup he allows us to have. I thought Roman, you know, showed exactly why we named him our starter. The ability to hit the home run and the consistency he plays with. Was also happy to get the young running back Ramon Brown in there early to get some quality minutes. You know, the thing that probably disappointed me was the 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 opportunities we had before the end of the half. And for us trying to establish the run, you know, we finished with about 5.7 yards per carry, but a bunch of it came on the explosive run. Just to see a little more just consistency. When I look at it, you know, before I watch the tape, if something that jumped out to me, we got to play with a little better leverage, especially in those short yardage situations. And so really happy that, you know, we were able to do some things in the run game, but definitely still a long way to go in terms of the execution.
The second row to your right.
Coach, a couple of inaccurate moments from Talia. What did you see that contributed to that?
Yeah, again, you know, before you have opportunity to watch the tape, it's tough. I know we had a chance to hit a big post there in the first half, and I think he got hit as he was releasing the ball, is what I think, which is why, because normally he doesn't underthrow very many of his deep balls. You know, it's just game 1 timing. You know, being in a live game situation, I expect him to continue to get better like everybody else from game 1 to game 2. I thought he managed things really well for us for the most part. You know, I need to get that interception back there where, you know, they disguised their coverage. He thought they opened the middle of the field up, and they did a really good job on this disguise. And what we talked about is he's got to confirm the coverage and not just pre-snap make a decision. But those are all things that are correctable, and we'll get those things corrected this week.
To your right.
Coach, just how gratifying was it to see Dante Demas out on the field again in a game, and I guess Jay Sean as well, knowing what they went through last year?
Yeah, always good, as I said, to have Dante out there, 1, because of the leadership he provides, but 2, just knowing how hard he's worked to get back to this point. You know, we still are managing the loads of those guys, both he and Jay Sean. We still have to manage their load and make sure that we are working them back to where they can be, you know, fully loaded up. But you know, I thought we played about 50 to 60% of the plays they normally would get. And so it was good to see him make a few plays and get his feet wet, as well as the timing back with Talia. But having both he and Jay Sean back and making plays for us is huge for us.
You mentioned the defense and having some of those guys who are stepping into larger roles this year. What were you most impressed by with how they just handled being in a game situation?
You know, I think the big one is, you know, having the ability to rotate, you know, 6 interior guys. I mean, we played a lot of interior players with Mo, Ami, Tommy King Sote, the addition of Henry Tribuzzi coming in, Tank Booker got a bunch of plays for us, Ike Bunyan. So having created depth there is what's going to help us in the long run, and all those guys, you know, did a really good job interior of just attacking blocks and getting off blocks. You know, if there's a thing that kind of just watching it from the sideline, you know, we had a few pass interference calls, which are competitive penalties, but, you know, for me, it's a technique thing where we've got to get our head around and try to, you know, feel the defender and not run through the middle of their chest. And those are technical things, and that's why I said, you know, if we get those things fixed, I think we'll be able to limit some of the penalties we had.
Far left, Josh.
Coach, can you talk about the defensive line and their disruptive day today?
I think the big thing is they push that pocket back into the lap of the quarterback, and you know, a lot of the pass rush today came from the interior guys with pushing that pocket back to where they flush the guy out, and it goes back to, like I said, being able to play a lot of players, which allows us to stay fresh, especially a game like today. You know, I thought our conditioning level really showed up in terms of our players. We didn't have a lot of guys laying on the ground, didn't have a lot of guys cramping. And so our strength and conditioning staff, as well as the sports science people, really did a great job this summer of our conditioning level, which is always key. And then the fact that we created some depth to where we rotate and play a lot of these players, and we were able to get some first-time players today, some meaningful snaps, which will help us in the long run.
To your right, Ryan.
Hey, Coach, how would you evaluate the overall performance for the special teams today?
We had 2 penalties on special teams. You know, our snappers, a short snapper on the extra point, kind of double snapped it, and then, you know, we had the offsides on defense on the field goal block unit. Those things are the ones that those are non-competitive penalties. Those are things we can control. So those were disappointing, but, you know, to see the kick return by Octavian Smith, who, you know, has big playability, and there at the end, you know, our kicker being able to kick the ball out of the end zone. I know he had one where he kicked it out of bounds, which he overkicked that thing, but to have the consistency that we saw out of our kicker today was something that's you know, will benefit us, and we're really glad to have Chad Ryland here, but also, you know, some of the skill guys that now can contribute in the return game, and Tarheeb with the big punt return as well, giving us great field position.
To your right, fourth row, Alex.
Hey Lox, how's it going?
Alex, what's up?
Not too much. You know, there's been so much talk about Talia and the receivers for the last year, and I know you said there's some things you want everybody to clean up and those guys get back in the lineup healthy and all that. But to see what you saw from the running game today and the defense, specifically the pass rush and the rush defense, I mean, how encouraging is that to you for kind of where this team's at and where you see them going in the next few weeks?
You know, it's really encouraging because, as I've talked about, you know, everybody knows what the passing game has been around here. And again, you know, we have to be able to have the complementary things that we don't do well. And, you know, you achieve what you emphasize. And we put a big emphasis on our ability to run the football. As I said, we didn't have the opportunities today. You know, you look and see Roman had 7 carries and Antoine had 6. And in a perfect world, Roman needs 20 and Antoine needs about 10 to 15. And the only way you can get that is by being good on third down. And I'm going to keep harping that we've got to become better situational football. We've got to keep out of the third and long and extra longs and keep them in a manageable situations where we're able to sustain drives, because with the type of playmakers we have to have more opportunities, and you either have to play faster or you've got to consistently be able to execute on third down and sustain drives.
To your left, second row, Ben.
Coach, you know, you said it's only week 1, but, you know, penalties and discipline is always, you know, such a big emphasis. What did you see today, and kind of how do you go about cleaning that up moving forward?
I think we had 9 penalties today. I just described 2 of them in terms of the, you know, non-competitive type penalties. The illegal snap, the offsides on defense. You know, we had 2 holding calls on the outside zone. Those are competitive penalties. We had the 4 PIs. They're competitive, but now the thing that jumps out when you have competitive penalties is if they're repeat penalties, meaning if we keep having PIs, then we've got to correct some things technically. And as I talked about, you know, big thing with the corners is playing through the man by getting your head around. Too many times we're running down the chest of the guy with our hands in the air. We got to get our head around, play through the hands. And I think Jacorian executed it the way we want it done 2 or 3 times a day. A couple of the young corners didn't play it the way that we teach it. So that's something that will make a big point of emphasis for our corners going into this week, to try to get those type of things corrected.
Time for 2 or 3 more. We're going to stay in the second row to your left, Sam.
Hey, Coach, you've talked about Talia being able to keep his composure and not letting one mistake come to. How do you think he responded after that first interception today?
You know, I thought he did exactly what we want him to do. Typically, you see the shoulder drop, you see the air come out of his body. He came to the sideline, obviously disappointed, but for me, the self-correction, he knew right away. He said, I thought they were open in the middle of the field up, and he came back through the middle. I got to confirm it post-snap, and those are the right kind of answers. So I was glad to see him continue to take strides of being emotionally more mature. You know, it's game one. We'll continue to clean up the things around him as well as some of the things with his game. And like I said, hopefully we'll be able to see a big jump in terms of the penalties going down from week 1 to week 2 and see us execute a little better in situational football.
To your right, Noah.
Hey, Coach, your team held Buffalo to just 5 third down conversions. What allowed your defense to be so good on third downs today?
Much like what we weren't good at on offense is putting them in 3rd and 7 plus. You know, typically if you're at 3rd and 7 plus, your odds of converting those are not very high. I thought our defense did a good job on 1st and 2nd down and putting them in 3rd and long and extra long, which allows them to kind of, you know, either rush the pass or drop 8, which we did some today. And again, that's the area for us on offense where we got to do a better job of being better on 1st and 2nd down. But I thought defensively, we kept them in the 3rd and 7 plus situations, and that's usually an advantage for us.
And last question to the row to your left, Alyssa.
Coach, you mentioned Jacorian. He had a career high 5 pass breakups today. Just what did you see him do well, and how important is he going to be to your defense going forward?
Yeah, one of those need to be an interception for a touchdown. And to me, that was a big point of emphasis. You know, Jacorian's one of those guys that had a draftable grade to leave and probably would have got drafted this year. And the reason he came back and used the COVID year is to improve his stock from that standpoint. And one of the areas is he's had a lot of pass breakups, but we need to see him create turnovers. And he had a couple of opportunities, at least early in the first half. I know there was the one dropped interception that would have been a huge play for us. But when you watch, again, as I talked about how we need to play technically out on the perimeter against the ball in the air, he had 3 textbook coverage technical things that I saw at the end where he played through the ball, through the hand, got his head around and made plays for us. So, you know, he had a good game, a big game for us to have 5 pass breakups, but I know for him and for us, getting those interceptions are going to be really important as we move forward.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
In about 5 minutes, we'll have